piece of the arm. So what I'm going to get is this part that's exposed. And I ask you, what is this? And you have to, what I mean is, what is this surface going to be when I do this? Yes? It's a sphere. Do you really believe that? because what I'm going to get is what I drew over here. The top is the same as the one below it, and this is the same as well. So every time I cut this, I get a sphere. So as long as I have this understanding, you remember what I said here is as I walk along this interval, at each point I'm beneath a circle, or I have a circle beneath each point. What I'm saying here is that at each point, when I do the analogous thing, at each point I actually have a sphere. Yes?
When you're slicing, you're not including the inside of the sphere.
Yes, I am.
Oh, so then wouldn't that be more than a sphere if you're, because you're not only, because that was when you were,
Any other questions? So and by the way, at the end points, you can see, in this picture, you see at the end point, I don't get a circle, I get a point. And at the other end point, I get a point. The same thing's going to happen here. At one end point, I'll get a point, the other end point, I'll get a point. So I'm going to get 2 points, and then in between, I get a whole bunch of two-dimensional spheres. Okay, so now what I want us to do is analogous to what I did in these other examples. I want to remove part of it and see what's left. So I'm going to think of, in order to make this picture more comprehensible, let me sort of change the way I'm doing this. I want to think of this solid ball as being obtained by taking this disc and spinning it around the vertical axis. That way I can draw it in 2 dimensions, but you have to use your imagination. I take this solid, this pancake, and I'm going to spin it around the vertical axis. So if I take a long exposure picture of that, it's going to look like a solid ball. Is that all right? Okay, that way I don't have to keep drawing this picture. Okay, so that's what I get. So now what I'm going to do is remove, this time I'm going to remove a vertical piece just to be different. So I remove this piece. Just take out this. This is analogous to what I did on the world map and in projective space. I just remove this piece and I look at it and I ask myself, what do I have in my hands? Say you've got this tube, but you have to use your imagination, because remember, in this picture, this point up here is the same as the one directly below it on the boundary. The point up here is the same as the one directly below it on the boundary. So what is this thing actually going to be? It's lunchtime, you should be able to answer this immediately. Yeah? You got to think bigger. It's a circle if I remove one line, but I'm removing a big clump at once. Yes?
Is it a sphere?
No. Because only the stuff on top gets glued to stuff on the bottom. Yes?
Is it a cylinder?
No, because that doesn't, you're not gluing anything. Yes?
Is it a donut?
Yes, it's a donut. That's why I mentioned lunch. Because what happens is, the stuff up here is the same as the stuff down there. So what I do is I pull this out, and I turn it over and glue it. Okay, and that way, I'm going to wind up with a donut. It's a solid donut. Not an inner tube. It's not hollow. It's a solid donut. That's what I get when I move it. Don't forget, I'm spinning this around. This is probably through you, but I'm spinning this at all times around the vertical axis. So I'm actually thinking of this as more like a solid ball. And so when I do that to this, what I'm going to get is a cylinder. But what I have to do is then glue the top of the cylinder to the bottom of the cylinder. So I wind up with a donut. has no particular flavor, but it's a little chalky.